In the next 30 minutes, you're going to understand why your mind plays tricks on you before the day even begins. It's not a coincidence, it's a pattern. And once you see it, you won't be able to unsee it. There's something no one told you, that 99% of the people who fail to build the life they want don't fail for lack of effort. They fail because their internal system is programmed to sabotage them before the first coffee, before the first meeting, before the first conscious decision of the day. The invisible decision that destroys your potential before the day even begins. Most people believe that their financial future is defined by big decisions. The moment they invest, the moment they create a business, the moment they accept an opportunity. But they are wrong. The most important battle happens much earlier. It happens in the first few minutes after opening your eyes. Because before producing external results, your mind has already made an internal decision who you're going to be during that day. And that silent decision is creating your reality faster than you imagine. In the next few minutes, you will discover the exact mechanics that separate people who build an extraordinary life from those who remain trapped in the same cycles for years. Not because some have more talent, not because some have received better opportunities, not because some have a secret advantage that you'll never have. The difference lies in something much more uncomfortable. Most people are trying to conquer the world with a mind that never learned to govern. And a mind without direction always ends up being directed by something external. By notification, for an opinion. For a momentary emotion, because of an old fear, because of a habit repeated so many times that it stops seeming like a choice. But here appears the first truth that many people reject. It's not a lack of time. It's not a lack of money. It's not a lack of ability. It's a poorly configured internal system. You can have thousands of ideas. You can consume hundreds of books. You can save videos about productivity, business, and personal growth. But if your identity remains programmed to seek comfort rather than growth, you will silently destroy every opportunity that comes your way. Because a person doesn't act according to what they say they want. He acts according to what he believes himself to be. And that difference changes absolutely everything. Today you will learn about 3 movements, 3 structural changes. First, you're going to identify the invisible saboteur that appears even before you get out of bed. Second, you will understand how to become the architect of your subconscious, ceasing to live as a prisoner of your impulses. Third, you're going to learn the protocol to protect your first hour of the day, because that first hour is not just any routine. It is the terrain where your identity is built. But there is something that most people ignore, a silent poison, something that seems innocent, something that millions do every morning without questioning it. And while they think they are simply starting the day, they are training the exact version of themselves that they claim to want to leave behind. Because think about this, what is the first thing you do when you wake up? Are you taking control of your mind? Or do you surrender your attention to the world before you even remember who you are? You open your eyes. You pick up the phone. You check messages. You watch the news. You consume other people's lives. You compare. You react. And before you even put your feet on the ground, you're already operating from a responsive position. You're not creating, you are reacting. And a life built solely from reaction never reaches its true potential. Because every morning is a small vote. a silent choice about the person you are becoming. Every time you choose comfort over discipline, you strengthen an identity. Every time you choose distraction over focus, you strengthen an identity. Every time you allow others to decide what deserves your attention, you strengthen an identity. But it also works the other way around. Every small act of control is a statement. Every conscious decision is a building block. You don't need to change your whole life tomorrow. You need to regain control of the first battle, the battle that happens before you get up, because whoever masters the beginning of the day begins to regain control of their life. And now we must look at the real enemy. It's not outside. It's not the economy. It's not the competition. It's not the world. He's invisible. And that's why it's dangerous. Step 1. The invisible saboteur. There's a window, a gap of about 7 minutes after waking in which your conscious mind hasn't yet taken over. In that gap, the nervous system is in a theta state. The mind is between worlds, the guard is down. And in that state, whatever comes in doesn't ask permission. Neuroscience calls it the hypnagogic transitional state. Stoicism would call it something else, the moment when character is defined before the ego decides to defend it. You experience it every day without knowing it, because you don't choose what comes in first during that window. The algorithm chooses it. The notification chooses it. The anxiety of the news headline designed to activate your amygdala before your prefrontal cortex has time to filter chooses it. Who made the first decision of your day today, you or your phone? Don't answer out loud. Answer it internally. With surgical honesty, here's exactly what happens. The moment you open your first app of the morning, your brain gets a shot of fake dopamine. Not the dopamine produced by real achievement, but the kind generated by anticipating other people's judgment. The like that might have arrived, the message that might be waiting, the world's problem that might have gotten worse. Your reward system kicks in, your cortisol levels rise, and before you even get out of bed, your body is already in reactive mode. Not in creative mode, not in strategic mode, in survival mode. And empires aren't built in survival mode. Emergencies are managed. The undirected mind directs itself. This isn't a metaphor for the garden. This is the garden. Imagine a fertile plot of land with rich soil, ample water, and direct sunlight. Now imagine that no one decides what to plant there. No one chooses. No one tends it. The wind carries seeds. The birds carry seeds. The neighbors carry seeds. And the garden grows abundantly in every direction, without order, without purpose, with roots crowding each other. This is what your mind is like without a morning routine. Fertile, chaotic, productive for everything except what matters. The emotional slave who reacts is not someone weak. He is someone without structure, someone who has the energy but not the direction, who has the talent but not the system, who has the ambition but surrenders it each morning in small, invisible doses to whatever stimulus comes first. The architect who programs is exactly the same person. With only one change, they decide who comes to mind first. It seems simple. It isn't. Because the saboteur doesn't announce itself. It doesn't arrive with warning. It has no face, no name, and no malicious intent. It's the sum of your automatic judgments, your inherited identities, your conditioned reflexes operating on autopilot while you think you're awake. And here appears the silent poison that most ignore. It's not the 10 minutes of scrolling that destroy you. It's the 10 minutes that shape the emotional tone of the next 10 hours. Your nervous system doesn't distinguish between "I'm watching the news to stay informed" and "I'm in danger." Both experiences trigger the same biochemical cocktail. Both activate the same stress response. And when that state of alert is sustained for hours, it erodes clarity, lowers your tolerance for frustration, and sabotages your ability to make long-term decisions. It's not theory, it's a rule of neurological warfare. However, this isn't the deepest problem. The deepest problem is what your morning scroll does to your identity before you've even defined it yourself. When the first content you consume is someone else's opinion, someone else's complaint, someone else's achievement, someone else's fear, your mind doesn't yet have an anchor of its own, and that anchorless mind adopts whatever it finds, not out of weakness, by evolutionary design. Every automatic decision you make in the first 10 minutes of the day is not yours. It's the residue from the previous day, and that residue is ruling you, disarmed, hungry, ready for the only question that matters. How do you disrupt this pattern at a structural level? The invisible structure that determines what you allow to be received. Most people try to change their lives from the outside in. Change jobs, earn more money, find better opportunities. Build new contacts. But there is one rule that contradicts this way of thinking. The external world rarely surpasses the level of the internal identity that sustains it. Because before you can build a different reality, you need to become the person capable of maintaining it. Herein lies the paradox that almost no one understands. You don't get what you want. You get what your internal system is prepared to sustain. You could receive a huge opportunity, but if your identity still believes you are not enough, it will find a way to sabotage it. You can increase your income, but if your internal relationship with money is based on fear, guilt, or scarcity, you will create decisions that lead you back to the same point. You can meet amazing people, but if your perception of yourself is limited, you will interpret those connections from a small version of yourself, because the mind does not seek the best. Look for what you know. Look for consistency with the story you repeat about who you are. If you have repeated the following for years: "I am a person who never finishes what I start. I am someone who lacks discipline. I'm someone who has no luck," your brain begins to protect that identity. Not because I want to destroy you, because it tries to maintain consistency. Your mind is a preservation system, and if he believes that a limited version of you is reality, he will work to prove that he is right, even if that reality hurts you. Identity creates results. This is one of the most important laws of personal growth, because it completely changes the question. The average person asks, "What do I need to do to be successful?" The evolving person asks, "Who do I need to become for that result to be natural?" The difference seems small, but everything changes. A person is looking for an action. The other one builds a system. One tries to change moments. The other one changes the root. Imagine a tree. Many people spend years trying to improve their fruit. The leaves change. They paint the branches. They add external elements, but they forget to check the roots. And if the roots are damaged, no amount of decoration can save the tree. Your identity is your roots. Your habits are the branches. Your results are the fruits. If you want different results, you must work where no one is looking, within. Here appears the second invisible tool. Most people believe that successful people simply have more willpower. But the real difference is something else. They have built systems where their identity and actions are aligned. They do not constantly depend on feeling motivated. They don't negotiate with the same decision every day. They have reduced the distance between what they claim to be and what they do. Because when there is an internal contradiction, exhaustion appears. A part of you wants to grow. Another group wants things to stay the same. One side wants to build. Another one wants to protect herself. And that internal war consumes more energy than any external effort. The enemy is not always in action. Sometimes it's fragmentation, wanting a new life while maintaining secret agreements with your old self. But a strong identity is not born from great moments, but it is born from small, repeated tests. Every time you keep a promise to yourself, you send a signal. I am someone who trusts his own word. Every time you choose discipline over comfort, you send a signal. I am someone who can lead himself. Every time you do something difficult, even when no one is watching, you build character. It's not magic. It's training. It's a repetition. It is accumulated evidence. Like a muscle, nobody develops strength with a single repetition. It develops by demonstrating hundreds of times that it can withstand resistance. Your identity works the same way. Every decision is a repetition. Every morning is an opportunity to reinforce who you are building. But there is a common mistake. People want to transform their identity in a day. They want to wake up as someone else. They want to feel confident before acting. They want to feel disciplined before committing. But it works the other way around. Conscious action produces evidence. Evidence breeds trust. Trust strengthens identity. You don't wait to become disciplined to act in a disciplined way. You act in a disciplined way to become a disciplined person. You don't wait to feel ready to begin. You begin to build preparation. The awkward question is, if someone could observe your decisions over the past 30 days without hearing your words, what identity would they think you are building? Because your true identity is not in what you claim. It's in what you repeat. Step 2. Reprogram the identity from within. It's not about pretending to be someone else. It's about ceasing to feed a version of yourself that has already served its purpose. The version that survived, the version that avoided risks, the version that sought approval. But you can't build an extraordinary life using only tools designed to protect you from everything. Growth demands expansion. It demands discomfort. It demands a mind capable of choosing direction, even when emotions try to pull you back. And now comes the practical part. Because understanding the mind without applying it only creates another form of consumption. Other information saved. Another piece of knowledge that never translates into results. Therefore, the next step is to build a system, a protocol, a daily structure to protect the most important part of the day, the moment when your identity begins to take shape, the first hour where the person you are going to become is built. Most people start the day as if they were entering a battle without armor. They open their eyes. They pick up their phone. They allow hundreds of external stimuli to enter before they have even had a single moment of connection with themselves. And then they wonder why they feel anxious, why they feel a constant lack of clarity, why they end the day completely exhausted, even though they have done so many things. But here, an uncomfortable truth emerges. You're not tired just because of what you do. You are tired from the number of times your mind had to react without direction. An unstructured mind constantly consumes energy. A mind with direction conserves energy for what is important. And that's why the first hour of the day is not simply a routine. It's a statement. It is the moment where you decide whether you will lead your mind, or whether you will allow the world to claim it before you do. Here the third major concept appears, the morning shield protocol, the shield of the morning. It's not a perfect routine. It's not about getting up at 5 a.m. It's not about copying someone else's life. It's much simpler. Create a barrier between your identity and the external chaos. Because if you don't decide what enters your mind, someone else will decide it for you. First sword. Protect the first stimulus. The first information you consume after waking up has a much greater power than you imagine, because your brain is in a state of transition. You are not yet fully immersed in the noise of the day. That moment is a doorway, and many people hand that door over immediately. News, social networks, comparison, other people's problems, opinions, before asking yourself, what do I need to build today? They ask. What's happening outside? It seems like a small difference, but it's a difference between creation and reaction. The reactive person starts the day by responding. The conscious person starts the day by designing. Protect your attention first, because your attention is the currency with which you buy your future. That which you repeatedly focus your attention on becomes stronger. Your fears, your skills, your thoughts, your habits, your identity. The awkward question is, who is deciding what deserves your first few minutes of the day? You or anyone else with access to your screen? Second sword. Install address before receiving information. A powerful mind doesn't begin by asking, what do I have to do? Start by asking, who do I need to be today? Because actions without identity become obligations. But actions aligned with identity become evidence. Before entering the world, you need to remind your mind where you are walking towards. 3 questions. What kind of person am I building? What decision would that person make today? What small action would demonstrate that this identity is already growing? You don't need a gigantic transformation. You need small tests. The mind believes in evidence, not in promises. You can say for years, I want to be disciplined. But a single repeated action is worth more than 1,000 words. Keeping a small promise to yourself changes the relationship you have with your own word. And that relationship is the basis of character. Third sword. Minimal radical discipline. Here another paradox appears. Many people fail because they try to change too many things at the same time. New diet, new training, new business, new routine. A new, complete version of themselves. And when they can no longer support it, they conclude, I have no discipline. But the problem wasn't a lack of discipline. It was a strategy based on intensity, not identity. Real transformation begins with a minimal unit that you can repeat. A decision, a habit, a commitment, one action. Because discipline isn't built when you do something extraordinary once. It is built when you do something small, even when no one is watching, like a pilot before takeoff. He doesn't check the instruments because it's exciting. He reviews them because he understands that a small mistake at the beginning can change the whole course. Your morning works the same way. Small, repeated deviations create large consequences. The dominated person seeks motivation. The sovereign person builds systems. It depends on how you feel. The other depends on who decided to be. And that difference separates those who move forward from those who remain waiting for the perfect moment. Fourth sword, create momentum. Success doesn't usually appear as a sudden explosion. It appears as an accumulation, a correct decision, then another one. Then another one. Until something changes. That's momentum. The internal movement that occurs when your actions begin to confirm your identity. At first, it seems small, but then it becomes a force. Like a heavy wheel. The first movements require effort, but once it starts spinning, maintaining the movement requires less energy. Your goal is not to win every battle every morning. Your goal is to start turning the wheel, because a person who maintains direction for a sufficient amount of time becomes unrecognizable to who they were before. Step 3. Become the gardener of your mind. A gardener does not control the weather. He does not control all circumstances, but he controls what he plants. Control what you feed yourself. Control what allows growth. Your mind works the same way. You can't control everything that happens outside, but you can decide which thoughts are allowed to stay, which habits receive energy, which identity receives training. The final question in this section is, if tomorrow no one could see you, no one could congratulate you, and no one could know, would you continue making the same decisions? Because that's where the real transformation begins. When you stop acting to prove something, and you start to act because you know who you are building. Most of them are looking to change their lives. But first you must change the way you approach it. And now there is one last truth, the most uncomfortable one. Because after understanding all this, you can no longer say you didn't know. The responsibility is now entirely in your hands. The decision that separates someone who imagines a different life from someone who begins to build it. You've come this far because a part of you recognizes something that you may have tried to ignore for a long time. You don't need any more information. You need a new relationship with the person you see when you're alone, because that's the point where it all begins. Not in the words you say in front of others, not in the image you're trying to project. Not in the goals you write when you're motivated. It starts with the small decisions that no one notices, in those moments where there is no applause, where there is no recognition, where it's just you facing your own identity, and that's where the truth is revealed. Most people wait for an external signal to change, a perfect moment, an opportunity, a confirmation. But people who truly evolve understand something different. The signal never arrives. You build it. Every morning. Every choice. Every time you decide not to return to the same pattern, because your future isn't waiting for a perfect version of you. He is waiting for a compromised version. Today, you discovered 3 things. First, there is an invisible saboteur, an automated program that can keep you repeating cycles for years if you never decide to observe it. Second, your identity is the root. Your results don't appear by accident. They are the consequence of what you practice, accept, and reinforce daily. Third, your first hour matters, because before conquering external goals, you must regain internal control. The person who learns to direct their mind begins to direct their decisions, and the person who makes those decisions begins to change their trajectory. But now comes the part that many avoid. Knowing that doesn't change anything. Understanding it doesn't change anything. Listening to a powerful idea and continuing in the same way only creates the illusion of progress. Knowledge without application becomes just another form of entertainment. And you don't need any more entertainment. You need to make a decision. You need to prove to yourself that your word has value, because self-confidence doesn't come from thinking. It appears when you fulfill your obligations, a small promise, a small habit, a conscious choice, one repetition after another. This is how an identity is rebuilt. This is how momentum is created. This is how someone begins to become the person they once only imagined being. If this message represented a turning point for you, write in the comments, "Today I'm taking control." Not as a pretty phrase, as a personal decree, as a declaration that you will no longer live completely driven by impulses, fears, or old habits. Because the first step of a new identity is recognizing that the old one is no longer in control. Remember, most people try to change their circumstances in order to change their mind. But those who truly evolve understand the opposite truth. They change their minds. They change their identity. And over time, their circumstances begin to fall into place. You don't conquer your life in a single day. You conquer the direction. And a person who has a direction, even if they move slowly, is no longer lost.